many extensive baldness patients come to me and they say, God has been so kind to me as far as availability of hair everywhere in the body is concerned, but He's not given me hair on the top. It fell off at the age of 25. So most people who come with extensive baldness are lucky to have hair all over the body. Many of them are hirsute, in fact. And I often tell them that God has given you hair on the top, but when it fell off, it found root elsewhere on the body. So it grew there. So God giveth and He taketh away. If you understand the concept of anagen hair, about the anagen phase of the growth cycle of the hair, you have understood the entire concept of hair transplant and its philosophy. Why some people have good results, other people have mediocre results, and why two results never match. The best example of good anagen hair is Rapunzel. Of course, Rapunzel has such copious hair, bountiful hair. Why? Because her growth cycle got arrested at the anagen phase itself. Her hair doesn't shed. And so she has long hair that it could support a boy climbing up the tower. So this is the beauty of anagen hair. If you have a life cycle of about 18-19 years like Rapunzel, so the hair will continue to grow. Such bountiful hair, such thick hair, such strong locks. So this explains why some people have long hair, some people have short hair, some people have thick hair, and some people have thin hair. So we have hair all over the body, but there are certain areas which are better than the others, more preferred by surgeons. Hair from different locations are different. They're not the same. The difference lies in their caliber, their texture, their color, the curl, that is the angulation of the hair to the body, the speed of growth, the characteristic of graying. Some parts of the body like beard, they gray faster than the scalp. But the most important difference, and what concerns us the most, is the duration of the anagen phase, that is the growth phase of the hair. The longer the anagen phase, the more premium is attached to that location for harvesting grafts. So this knowledge of the characteristics of hair from various locations is of utmost importance. To blend them together in the best possible manner to get a more natural outcome, it is important to understand their characteristics, their individual characteristics. All grafts are not born equal. There is a hierarchy in the world of grafts. So the hair passes through three phases. One is the anagen phase, that is the time when the hair is in full bloom. And then the hair starts to thin and goes into the catagen phase. Catagen phase is the shedding phase. The hair is very thin, it is going away, falling off. It can be seen, but it is very thin, it's wispy thin, not like the anagen hair. After these hair have fallen off, the hair enters the telogen phase, that is the invisible phase. In this phase, it is in resting condition under the skin and will blossom once again when its turn comes. And then the importance of the duration of the anagen phase is the most important determinant of its utility to the hair transplant surgeon. And this single characteristic determines how important that particular graft is to the surgeon. So, in short, anagen duration rules the field of body hair transplant. This is a single important determinant of the utility of a particular graft from a particular location to the hair transplant surgeon and its importance in the hierarchy of grafts. So what is the duration of anagen phase for hair taken as grafts from various regions of the body? So this chart shows you the amount of hair that are present at any given time in the anagen phase. So for scalp, it is 85% of the hair are in anagen phase, whereas in the beard it is slightly less. 60% of the hair that you see in the beard at any given time are anagen phase. That means the rest 40% are in resting phase. For the armpit, that is the axilla and the pubic regions, it decreases to 30%. That is, in these areas, there are more hair in the resting phase than in the overt phase, that is the anagen phase. And lastly, the arms, the legs, the belly and the back, the torso. Only 20% of the hair are in the anagen phase. That means up to about 80% are in the resting phase. So how do we prefer a particular site over the other site as far as the importance of the graft or the hierarchy of the graft, if a particular graft is concerned? This depends upon how long the anagen phase duration is. And this chart shows you the anagen phase duration, and it shows the preference of a donor area to the surgeon for graft harvesting. And this is in descending order of importance. The scalp being the foremost, the beard next, and the lower limbs last. So the scalp duration is 2 to 6 years. In the beard area, there are two types of beard hair. One is the hair which is in the shadow area, that is below the jawline and the anterior neck. The other is hair which are found on the cheeks and the sideburns. Now the hair in the chin area or the submandibular area has a longer anagen phase than the hair on the cheek. The anagen phase of hair which is on the cheeks is only 2.5 months. That means this is not so preferred as the hair in the submandibular region and the anterior neck is. The importance of hair of the cheek is not as much as that of the submandibular region or the hair which is below and behind the jawline and in the front of the neck. In fact, the hair which you find on the cheeks and the sideburns is 2.5 months duration of anagen phase, which is much less than even the meanest of the mean grafts from the body. That is the leg, the arm grafts, the pubic grafts, the armpit graft. Though the hair from the beard is very important to recruit if you want more coverage and a better looking result and more volume. However, when you take it from the beard and from the sideburns, this hair has very short period of anagen phase, which is only about 2.5 months. So that is why at our center we do not prefer grafts from the cheeks. Why? Because it is just adding the numbers, and therefore clinics which utilize grafts from the beard from outside the shadow area may be able to give results, but they will never be long lasting. And then we have the chest. The chest has about 1 to 1.5 years. The armpit 4 months, and so is the case with hair from the belly, hair from the pubic area, hair from the upper limb, and hair from the thighs and the legs. In practice, there are only 2 areas from where grafts should be taken, and these are the shadow area of the beard and the anterior neck and the chest. Because grafts taken only from the scalp, the shadow area of the beard and the chest will last long. We are not talking about number of grafts. We can put 10,000 grafts in a patient at one time. But what we are planning is to meet the future objectives, the future goals of the patient that has been laid out and discussed with the patient. And the patient should be happy not in the short term only, but in the long term. You have to keep in mind that every patient is not going to take finasteride after 6 months. So any grafts which are weak grafts, which are not strong grafts, not anagen grafts, which don't have a long anagen phase, will not last long. It is only the anagen grafts from these areas which have stood the test of time. And we have been doing these cases for the last 10 years almost. We have done a large number of body grafts, perhaps the largest because I do all the cases myself. So our experience in harvesting grafts from all over the body is immense. And over the years, we have done away with other locations like the legs, the arms, the armpits and the pubic regions, and the cheeks, of course, because in the long run, they are not in the interest of the patient that we are treating. So with this background about the hair cycle and the importance of hair cycle to the hair transplant surgeon who has dedicated his practice to body hair transplant, we seek to now answer these 12 most common questions that patients seeking body hair transplant ask their surgeon. And these are: body hair transplant is very common in extensive baldness. Secondly, in cases of extensive baldness where the patient does not want his procedure to be staged, he wants the entire coverage or maximum coverage in one time. So that is the time we try and explore maximum grafts which are available from the body. Thirdly, revision cases. So mostly we have to rely upon grafts from the body. These procedures are getting more and more common because of clinics which throw caution to the wind. And thirdly, we use body hair, especially the beard grafts, to camouflage FUT scars and also to refine the hairline. Sometimes the hairline appears too harsh. So to soften that hairline, we sometimes use nape of the neck hair, like in this picture. Nape of the neck hair is also used for the eyebrows because it doesn't grow too long and it is soft. It also is used to refine temple points because it has single hair and doesn't grow too long, and therefore it most closely mimics the hair found at the temples, which are very thin and soft and don't grow too long. No, everybody is not a candidate for a body hair transplant. Why? Because everybody is not hirsute enough. So these patients are not candidates for body hair transplant. The quality of the body hair, the robustness of the hair we need is very important to have a result with body hair. The hair should be thick enough, it should be robust, and there should be plentiful of hair. That is, if you're harvesting the chest, the density of the hair should be up to about 10 per centimeter square for it to be feasible to be harvested. Additionally, we are aiming only at terminal hair, that is non-vellus hair. If a patient comes to us and says, "Doctor, why don't you take my armpit hair and my leg hair?" Hair from the arms, legs and the thighs can be taken. It can be taken from the torso as well, but not in all cases. Why? Because in all cases, we don't have terminal hair. Most of people have vellus hair. They're thin, wispy thin. These are not the grafts which will survive the rigors of relocation by a surgical procedure. So we have to select our patients for arm and leg body harvest very properly. Everybody is not a candidate. Now, preparation of the donor area for body harvest, only in one case, that is in chest, we follow this. Ask the patient to wet shave, not trim, 3 days before the procedure. Now, how is this beneficial? Now, the chest has a lot of hair which are thin. There are a lot of hair which are in the late anagen phase that they are going to shed. So we do not want to target these hairs. We want hair only in the early or in the middle part of the anagen growth phase. They are hardy grafts, they are robust grafts, and those are the grafts which will survive the transplant process. And these are the grafts which will give result. As I said, we are not after graft numbers. Some clinics also apply minoxidil to prepare the chest and to prepare the beard so that the anagen phase is prolonged and the telogen phase is reduced, so you get more graft numbers. However, whenever minoxidil is used, it should be stopped 5 days or 7 days before the procedure, otherwise it can cause increased bleeding. While harvesting from the beard, I do it only from below and behind the jawline and the anterior neck. I do not touch the cheeks because of reasons I have explained to you earlier. So in these areas, in Caucasians, there is literally no scarring. Why? Because there is very little contrast between the white scar dot and the surrounding skin. So the scars merge very well with the color of the skin, and these patients will never have scarring. At least I have done hundreds of them, but I have not seen a single patient complaining about scarring in the beard or for matter anywhere else in the body in Caucasians. However, in the darker races, Indians, Africans and other brown races, FUE harvest can leave very small micro dots which can be thin, hypopigmented, though flat, not raised, dots in the shadow area or also on the chest. But they are very, very small, and from a distance that you cannot make out. Yes, if you go close to the person, if you are told that the person has undergone a hair transplant, be able to make it out. Otherwise, they are not alarming at all and they are not raised. Why? Because we take a detailed history of whether the patient is susceptible to hypertrophic scarring. Has he had any instances in which a wound has healed with formation of exuberant scar tissue? So usually the scarring is so low that we have no problem with body hair transplant. In the Caucasians, we are more adventurous. We go on to the cheeks. In some cases where the hair quality is very good, they are thick, robust hair. That is the time only when we do cheek graft harvesting in very select few patients. And in Caucasians, we have seen that there is no problem at all. So one can explore the entire cheek area, the sideburn area, anterior neck. In the link below, you can see the extensive bald cases that we have treated using extensive body grafts from all over the body over the last 10 years. So after the beard harvest is over, the dressing is given. This dressing is removed the next day. The beard heals very fast because it has loose skin. And on the third day, we advise you to shave your beard. Why? Because shaving the beard will decrease the crusting and it causes early healing, less scar formation. Mind you, the shaving should only be along the grain, not against the grain, because if you do it against the grain, it'll hurt. From the chest, we harvest the grafts only between the two mounds, including the sternal area. And in most cases, we are able to harvest 500 to 800 grafts in one session. We make sure that we only harvest robust, good-looking anagen grafts and not every graft that we get, because thin grafts will not be able to withstand harvest and will not grow. The cost of body hair is definitely higher. It is not that it is double the amount, the scalp hair cost that you're paying. However, the amount, the effort, the labor required and the type of instruments required and the disposables required for beard hair transplant or for chest hair transplant for that matter are much more than for scalp grafts. The time that you take to harvest 1000 grafts from the beard is double the amount of time that you would take to harvest 3000 grafts from the scalp. That is a measure of the labor and the intensive nature involved while harvesting beard graft and chest grafts as well. So it is labor intensive, there's difficulty in posture, it is very strenuous upon the team, upon the surgeon, and therefore the cost is marginally higher than that of scalp grafts. Now to answer this question, we have to go back to the original theory of Orentrick, that is the theory of donor dominance, in which it says that the original characteristic of the hair is maintained when you shift it to a new recipient area. However, over the period of last about 10-15 years since we've been doing body hair transplants, we have come to see that this theory is not true. That grafts harvested from the chest, the beard, over a period of time assume the characteristics of the native hair of the recipient area. We find after 2 or 3 years, 4 years, 5 years that the hair that were taken from the beard or the chest have blended so well and naturally with the other hair that the theory of Orentrick of donor dominance has been turned upon its head. This is just like a child changing a school. When he changes the school, when he goes from one school to the other, he changes his habits. From one group of friends, he goes to another group of friends, his habits change. Your environment, your surroundings have a lot of influence on you. So you are a product of your surrounding. Like in humans, it is similar in grafts which are located from one place to the other. The breed of doctors that does hair transplant extraction themselves is almost extinct. If you don't believe what I say, do some research and you'll come to know. Ask previous patients of clinics. They'll tell you who did the hair transplant, who did what step in the hair transplant. However, at my clinic, I do all the important steps. That is complete harvesting of scalp and body grafts myself. Complete slick making, complete harvesting is done by me and me alone. I do not employ any other doctors, and nobody else in my clinic is empowered to do extraction. I do it 100% myself. When you come to the clinic, you will find out. And you will also find out if your friends, relatives, acquaintances have got a procedure done from us. What is my role in the complete hair transplant procedure? So you can be rest assured that you will get maximum attention during your procedure from me. That is a promise. While harvesting grafts from the beard, there is no problem at all. It responds very well to even diluted anesthesia, local anesthesia. We never give sedation for body hair grafts. They are almost well tolerated by patients. The beard is not an issue at all. The only problem lies with the chest graft harvesting. Though we put Emla cream, that is an anesthetic cream, 1 hour before the procedure. Then we give local anesthesia as well. However, the area is so large that the anesthesia has to be diluted. A little bit of sting will be felt, but it will not be so that you will be complaining. So on the whole, body hair transplant is relatively pain-free. Yes, they can be done the same day. If we are doing full scalp harvesting, up to 3,500 grafts, mega session, and beard graft harvesting, probably, if we are restricting our grafts from the beard to 500 to 800. However, if we are going beyond this number in the beard, if we are going to the cheeks or we are going to the chest, the rest of the procedure has to be deferred to the next day. Why? Because if you do such large areas, the safety limit of the anesthetic agent that we are using will be exhausted. It is not safe to do the entire procedure in one day. And since it is a cosmetic procedure and it is a zero error specialty, the word of caution, do not do more than the body can handle. Stay safe. So to conclude, in pre-selected cases, which are relatively hirsute, who have abundance of body hair, which is of terminal nature, non-villous, body hair transplant is a very valuable adjunct to scalp graft harvest in extensive patients and in patients who have come for revisional surgery. Over the period of last 10 years, since we've been doing body graft harvesting, our number of cases have grown manifold. And you can see in this chart how many grafts we used to do in 2009 and how much percentage of a practice body hair transplant is today. So body hair transplant is increasingly being accepted because we see more and more cases of extensive baldness in our practice. So thank you for watching. It was a pleasure to have you watch this video. Kindly subscribe to my channel so that I feel encouraged to share more and more knowledge with you and interact with you through questions in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.